All right. So we're going to make a duck, duck, goose game. The more coding you get into, the more time will be spending by yourself, and the chances you're going to have enough friends to play duck, duck, goose with are pretty small. So let's just program our friends, huh? We're going to use one of those for loops again, because the idea is we want the same thing to happen over and over again, right? So in our for something in something loop, we want to, let's see, check if there is a goose. Otherwise, print duck. And really that's it, right? Actually, we also want to do something after this. We want to wait a couple seconds, right? Part of it is the suspense, right? Duck, duck, that little bit of time in between. We're going to have to program that into Python because Python doesn't know. Python just wants to run things as fast as possible. So the first thing is we need to assign someone to be a goose, right? So let's say that we had, I don't know, let's make up an amount of friends. Let's say we had 15 friends, right? And once again, when I'm talking about 0 to 15, x is this is going to run all the amount of times, all the numbers between 0 and 15, kind of, right? Let's just print x and remind ourselves of what we're actually doing here. So what are all these numbers in between 0 and 15 that we're running? Okay, you can see 0 to 15 actually covers the numbers 0 to 14, right? Because that 15 isn't included. Okay. So, but 0 to 14 is actually 15 people, huh? Okay. So what I want to do first is I need to make someone the goose, right? And I don't want it to be person 12 every single time. So I'm going to create a random number, A, and I want them to be between, if I'm going to run this between 0 and 14, right? Then I want this to be a random integer between 0 and 14. Now here's the weird part, right? 14 is included. Here, 15 is not included. In for loops, that's that kind of the weird exception, right? Okay, so I have a random number. Now if I run this, Python's going to have issues, right? It's going to, well, there's nothing in here first off, right? But we need to import the idea of random, right? So make sure that you start off your code with this. Python likes to run super lean, right? So if it's not using random, it doesn't want to bring it in. So we're going to import the idea of random in. Okay, use it. So now I have A. Now I want basically two things. Check if there's a goose. So, well, all right. So let's say A is a random number, right? So let's just theoretically say that in our case, A is 7. Right? Like if we're running the program, A just got made into a 7. So we want to check if it's a goose. So if A is equal to that X value, right? Because this is going to run through all those numbers. So if our goose is on the one that we're at, then we want to print goose, right? Otherwise, we want to print a duck. We could do an else here if we wanted to, but I'm going to use, so if A doesn't equal X, right, we're going to print duck. Okay. Let's see what this looks like. So when X was 0, it missed. When it was 1, miss. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So actually, like our little guess here was pretty close. That was actually 7, huh? And it kept going, right? This is not how Duck Duck Goose is played. Right now, it would break after that, right? So let's see if we can make it keep going all the way to 15 unless there was a break. So we could say if we have a goose, we could break it. Let's see how that changes it. Okay, now it was the fourth person that was like that. Now, what you could be saying is, Well, if we're going to use a break anyway, the cool thing about for loops is you don't have to use breaks. They're going to automatically end at 15. I could change this to be, right now I could change this to be while true, and it'll run the exact same way. But now I have to pick an X number that I'm running through, right? So I'd have to start X out at 0, like, okay, now we're on the 0 person. And every time through the loop, I have to do like X equals X plus 1. Right? So now I start at person 0. Actually, I'm going to move this right here, right? We're going to check if person 0 is it. If not, we're going to print duck, then we're going to add 1. So a while true loop, we need to have a counter. That's no big deal if we need to have that, right? So this time it was the 4th person. We could run it again, and look, it's all the way down there. So that's kind of the difference between like using a while and true loop. So those ones are kind of boring because they go really fast. So we're going to do that import time thing, and after we go to the next person, we're just gonna wait for a couple seconds, right? And so we're gonna do time.sleep, and we're gonna wait 1 second. Actually, that'll be too long, so we're gonna do this. And if it is there, we're gonna print Goose, and we're gonna print okay. So now it's running. Oh, that was really quick. It only took 2 people to get there, right? This will. Oh man, we're getting some short ones here. Let's change it to between 7 and 14. So at least be in the second half now. You can see the suspense building, right? Anyway, that's just a good way to add a little suspense in these Python programs and run around the room and it'll remind us to get some exercise.